All right, everybody, here we are. It's Friday. It is time for our Q&A. I'm going to tell you right now, I've got 3 questions. They're not going to be the longest because this one's going down from the road. And by that, I mean Punta Arenas, Chile. And tomorrow morning, in 8 hours, I'm getting on an aircraft to go to Antarctica. I think this is being recorded on, I don't even know what day it is. It's either a Monday or a Tuesday. So I'll be in a comms blackout, hopefully having successfully already done a skydive over Antarctica. Let's get into it. Fallout Friday, 1:38. Here we go.
Okay, got the red smoke. Gun run, north or south, west of the smoke, west of the smoke. Okay, copy, west of the smoke. I'm looking at danger close now. Come on with it, baby, give it to me, I need it. You're cleared hot. Copy, cleared hot.
All right, here we are. Like I said, this one's from the road. You can tell the backdrop is a little bit different. I was going to say unique, but it's really not. It's a white hotel wall with salmon colored, whatever those are, curtains, drapes, whatever it may be. Tomorrow morning is a big day. We got the weather window, we got the go. We're heading into Antarctica. So hopefully I can get back before the next Full Auto Friday. But instead, I think next Friday I'll be updating from the road. It's going to be good. We'll have something that's coming out. Here we go. Question number 1. 25 years old, looking for the right occupation to be in. I currently own my own construction company and things are doing really well financially and lots of growth projected. The problem, I go to bed at night not feeling satisfied with what I am doing in my life. I know it is just a job, but a large part of my life is being a business owner. All throughout my childhood and high school, special operations was my dream, but unfortunately I was rejected from MEPS due to some misdiagnosed childhood medical problems. After 2 years of trying different branches, I decided to take a different path in life and learn the trades and reevaluate when the eligibility window opened up again. All the time, I always hear from others around me about how proud they are of me to have financial success and a run of successful businesses at a young age, but that seems to mean nothing to me. I know money isn't everything, but it does make the world go round, and financial freedom is incredibly liberating. Unfortunately, it still does not fulfill my needs. Unfortunately, it still does not fulfill my needs my heart has of helping people in distress and serving my country. What I'm getting at, and my question to you, is that I have a solid opportunity in front of me to complete an awesome accomplishment, make good money, and get myself ahead financially in life by decades, or dump this opportunity, try to join the military again, or maybe even law enforcement, take a massive pay cut, and be happy serving. People commonly say, follow your passion or do what you love. But I find that as humans, we tend to be discontent no matter what job we are in and always believe the grass is greener on the other side. So I'm trying to factor that into my decision as well. Also, if I decide to join the military, expectations are based upon what I have heard from you, Jocko, Ritland, Glover, Strucker, and others alike. I know that a lot that service time was nearly a decade or longer ago. So I'm in for what I think, or I have things changed for the worse. Am I in for what I think or have things changed for the worse or better as far as people, funding, and politics? I hope this all made sense and appreciate your time doing the Q&A. I hope that it helps everyone to realize we are not so special and all struggle with the same problems alike. I tell you what, that one right there, that last sentence, that we are not so special and we all struggle with the same problems alike. We've been filming a documentary for the 777, and a portion of that is obviously interviews. And the questions that get asked are thought-provoking. Intentionally, of course. You wouldn't want it to be all shallow and just, you could just have this trite response that doesn't actually mean anything. But one of the things we were talking about recently is that I know they call it special operations, and that's more based off of the type of military operations that they do. And I know I've said this before when it comes to special operations soldiers, and the community that I came from is that it's a community of extremely common people that are asked to do very uncommon things. And what it's not is a collection of superhero Lego toys or superhero action figures that things just bounce off of them, literally and metaphorically. They're incredibly real people with incredibly real struggles in life and incredibly real problems and incredibly real peaks and valleys. And I think it's important to recognize, regardless of who you are in your life, if you look up to somebody, whether it's in the celebrity world, an athlete world, whatever it may be, whatever is your soup du jour, whoever you may look up to, you're watching them from a distance. And those people have the same problems as everyone else. And you know what? I would add into that people who have levels of wealth as well. Maybe they don't have the economic problems, but I guarantee you they have other problems in life. We're much more alike than we are different, is my point in saying all of that. Now, as far as your military expectations and what could you expect if you do go into the military, I was again asked this question about, what are the SEAL teams like now versus when you joined the military? And I'd say it's a community of the same people, but that community has evolved at the speed of war. And that's from a tactics procedure, that's from an equipment procedure, the execution of warfare itself. But what I think has stayed the same is the type of person that would want to pursue that career path. And it is a bizarre career path in some ways, and not everybody wants to pursue it. But those that do are pretty similar. And so I would imagine the community of people that is serving right now in 2023, as wild as that is to say, is very similar from a mentality perspective, the community that I went into. But they're more capable, and that's because they have evolved at the speed of war. So you're going to find those types of people, not everybody, because we're still talking about human beings and it is a melting pot, but you're going to find the types of people that myself or Jocko or Ritland or Glover or Stroker talk about, because those are the nucleus of what makes those communities what they are. And I don't think that changes over time. As for what you would do in the job and what the world would expect of you and the nation is going to task you with, that's the big variable. If you get to the special operations community, you'll certainly be at the tip of the spear, but I don't know what they're going to throw that spear at, and that's anybody's guess. And that's kind of the variable when going into those communities. The SEAL teams before I came into them had almost 20 years of peace, and it was very conceptual based. It was a lot of training based, and almost, if not any, real world execution. Not because they didn't want to, because they never had the chance. So working my way back, follow your passions and do what you love. I think that is a good thing to say to people. And later in life, people generally were going to have, for most people, and I've been read this a few times in the last few months, the 40s is about the time where people are going to recognize some level of economic freedom. So of course, there are some people who are in their 20s and 30s, and I'm not talking about those people. Those would be the outliers or the anomalies. I'm talking about your average person in their 40s is going to have a little bit more economic flexibility. You might even be ending one career and looking at what you're going to do next. And I don't think anybody should live a life of work at an occupation that is just mind-numbing and soul-sucking purely for a paycheck and get to the end of their life and never have the opportunity to do what you love or follow your passion. But you're going to have to put that on a reasonable calendar page in your life. At 17, should you just do what you love and follow your passion? Well, I don't think so. If your love and passion is playing video games, to the exclusion of everything from self-care and social circles and actually getting a job and starting your life. That's horrible advice. Not that I'm sure it's good advice for anybody to ever make a passion out of playing video games and do only that. So when it's appropriate, I think it should be actioned. And I think it should be something that is in the back of your mind, but there should be a balance. You need to have the ability from an economic perspective to cover your basic needs and survival before you're going to be following your passion or doing what you love. And one pitfall that I have seen for people who do reach that economic level and they can do those things, sometimes they get unhappy because for people's passion or doing what they love, it's not that it's always easier, but it's more enjoyable. And I have seen people who pursue those things to the exclusion of doing anything else that is difficult in their life. And I am of the opinion that achieving your goals is an amazing thing, but arriving at a place where you think you no longer need to push yourself, where you no longer need to strive to be better, where you no longer need to set long-term goals and targets for yourself to aim at and try to achieve, that's a recipe for disaster. So even if you're doing what you love and you're following your passion, my advice to people in that phase of their life, whatever age you are, is make sure you are still doing things in your life that are challenging, whether physically, whether they're emotionally, mentally, or hopefully all three of those things. And to bring it back to where I'm sitting physically right now in Chile, I think that's what I enjoy the most about being involved in this particular expedition. the logistical challenges. There's equipment challenges. There's problems that we have to solve. We're going to be facing exhaustion physically and mentally, sleep deprivation, traveling through damn near every time zone on the face of the planet. 7 continents in 7 days is our goal. And we're doing that from the luxury of an economy seat on a commercial airline. So you can imagine the sleep that you get in there. I'm 6 foot tall. I don't fit incredibly well in those seats, and I love it. I know that we're going to come out of it shattered, and that's what I'm going to remember. I'm going to remember what it is that we had to work our way through to overcome the jumps and all the stuff that we do. I was thinking about this today. They're all going to be visually amazing. I'm looking forward to Antarctica the most because I think it's the most difficult to access. And then beyond that, I'm looking really forward to Cairo because we're going to jump with the pyramids in the background. And it's like, pretty crazy opportunity there. But other than that, what I'm looking forward to is just struggling through something that I know is going to be challenging, because that for me is where I get the best personal growth and development. So the meat and potatoes of your question, should you get rid of the financial success and join the military? That's a tough one. And I'm not going to give you any advice on that, but I can give you the things to consider. Now, one, and I've said this quite a bit, just because you want to go into the military or you feel a desire to serve and put a uniform on, don't think that your service, if you're able to do that, is going to satisfy what you think it's going to be. You could give up everything that you have, your financial success and the businesses, take the pay cut you're talking about, join the military, and at the end of the day, not be super satisfied with your service. You also could stay where you are and become incredibly wealthy, which I hope that you do if you take that path. And always in the back of your mind have this wonder. What would have happened if? Would I be happier if? Could I have done more if? And I can't answer any of those questions. And I hope actually that you don't end up asking yourself those things. There's a variety of ways that you could serve outside of the military and you could still maintain your businesses. For me, impact starts at a level of things that you can physically touch. Whether it be your family, whether it be your neighbor, whether it be the neighborhood that you live in, whether it be the city, the community, the county. There's a lot of ways that you can get involved and do something with the success of your business, the influence that your money could bring you. You could, you could get involved in coaching and mentoring. You could volunteer your time at a variety of organizations. You could get into local politics and do that in addition or as an aside to what you are doing in your business life. There's just a lot of ways to serve absent wearing a uniform, and I feel like people just forget that. You're rolling your dice. You really are if you give up what you have now in the hopes of what you think military service might be. And I'm not telling you not to do that, but just remember that it is a gamble. The military is going to get from you what the military needs first. Your needs are going to come second, if at all. And that's just the way that it is. That's the way that the system is designed. Now, do not expect any recruiter on the face of the planet to tell you that, because that's not their job. Their job is to actually get a heartbeat into a processing station and then on the way to boot camp for whatever service you may go into. So I hope that at least gives you some food for thought. There's no wrong answers to the questions that you asked. There's just different paths with different end states. And I think you could blend all of them. You could blend business and financial success with giving back and serving beyond yourself, not having to put a uniform on. Or you could go into the military and it could be everything that you thought it could be. And then you could serve and fulfill that desire that you have, leave that and come back and still kill it in the business world. So the beauty is you have opportunities in front of you. Questions 2. Question for you. In 2018, while driving, my semi-truck and Super B tanker that I was driving was hit by a woman driving a pickup truck. You included the video, which I watched, and it was gnarly. Flash forward to this past Friday, the 23rd of December, and I was subpoenaed to the court on the 4th of January to testify against said woman who faces a maximum 10-year sentence for DUI. I have no mixed feelings about the trial. I want it all to go away, as I have moved on with my life and was expecting a happy Christmas before this incident came back and cast a shadow upon my Christmas vacation. But the more I think about it, I realize that I do have nightmares and avoidance issues resulting from the trauma of that accident. Does sending someone to jail actually help anything? Is it just me, or is it just giving me bad karma? I don't want to be responsible for ruining her life. Why didn't she just come and apologize to me? Why wasn't she better at hiding so that we wouldn't have to, that we could have all left this behind us? This whole situation has me shaking, nervous, and upset. I want to be able to man up and deal with the tough shit, but I'm just an emotional storm right now. So thank you again for your show and your guidance. Again, I'm going to start this one backwards. Being an emotional storm is not something that I'm unfamiliar with, and I don't think it's something that basically anybody is going to be unfamiliar with at some point in time in their life. What I'll say is weather the emotional storm before you make decisions. And you sent this about a week ago, just over a week ago now, so hopefully that emotional storm has passed, and you're starting to think about this a little bit more rationally. Why wasn't she better at hiding? I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that. Maybe most people just aren't good at hide and seek. But this one statement here, I don't want to be responsible for ruining her life. That's you trying to take accountability for something that you cannot take accountability for. The only person that is going to be ruining this woman's life is herself. The decisions that she made and the actions that she took. You did not put the bottle into her hand. You also didn't put the car keys in her hand, get her in the car, and get her started down the road. And I don't think it's an issue of karma. I think it's an issue of the system playing itself out. Why it took so long to do so, I have no idea. And I'm sorry that this happened and is occurring to you over a holiday time period, because it kind of sucks. The timing isn't great. But again, that's not something that you can control, and that's not something that you cause. Does sending someone to jail actually help anything? I think that depends what you're sending them to jail for. If you have a sociopath that likes wearing people's skin like a leotard, yes, I think that actually helps, because you need to remove certain people from other people because of what they would be willing to do to them. If you have somebody who likes to make chili out of somebody's brains, probably best if they're behind bars for the rest of their life. Somebody with an alcohol problem or a substance abuse problem, does putting them in jail actually help anything? I don't know the answer to that, because it would depend on what they do with themselves when they are incarcerated. Are they going to put the work in on themselves? Are they going to reflect, recognize why they're there in the first place, and do everything they can to make sure that they don't come back to that situation or take actions that put them back in there? I don't know. Or are they going to blame everything that has happened to them on the world around them, take no ownership, and leave the same person that they went in as, and then be much more likely to conduct the same type of behavior that they did before? I don't have the answer to that by any stretch of imagination. I think for some things it helps. For others, I think it could be helpful, and that helpful is attached to or associated with the additional work that they do on themselves while incarcerated. I don't think just randomly locking somebody up and throwing away the key on issues that are going to require more maturity and growth and experience, not necessarily sure that in and of itself, by itself, is the situation or is the answer. You're talking about still having nightmares and avoidance issues. And I've said this before, people are probably tired of hearing me beat the drum on doing work for yourself. Those nightmares and avoidance issues are because of something. They're not just randomly showing up and like, oh, I wonder why this is happening. It sounds to me like you know exactly why they're happening, which gives you a structure and outline for how you could attack them and deal with them. That's probably going to require you going and talking to somebody who specializes in those things. And for those of you who are like, oh, will you shut up about going and getting counseling and seeking therapy? No, I'm not going to. Because it's a fucking problem. I just had another friend kill himself the week before Christmas. And I'm not saying that therapy or seeking out a therapist is bing, I'm fine. What I'm saying is we all fucking struggle with things. And if you're anything like me, I understand when I'm struggling with things. I know when I'm feeling off. And sometimes I don't know how to get myself out of that. But there are people out there who are experts at helping you do that, to navigate the space between your ears and get you reoriented and moving in a positive direction. So, what else? At the end of the day, I can understand how you would feel responsible. Like, I have to go testify, and how you just want this to be over. And I hope that you can realize that, the things that happen to you up to and including being hit by the vehicle, the truck, they're outside of your control. So a little bit here, you are swimming in a river that you're not going to be able to navigate, and you may not want to be swimming into it. It's not your fault that you are, and you're not pushing somebody else's head underwater. If anybody's drowning in this situation, it's going to be that woman, but it's because she jumped in and didn't know how to swim. So I hope you can give yourself a little bit of grace and understand that this isn't you against her. This is the system playing itself out the way that the system was designed to be. And I feel like a 10-year sentence for a DUI is like, it's not a first offense. And having said that, I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not sure about punishments when it comes to DUI, but like first DUI, 10 years? Damn, that sounds pretty savage. I suspect this might be a repeated incident, or that she might have a history of encountering law enforcement while behind the wheel of a vehicle while shit-faced, and that's not on you. So hopefully you can realize that, and it'll help you out a little bit. Last Christmas, great opener here. Merry Christmas, fucker. I've been listening to you since your Joe Rogan appearance when you were on with Tate Fletcher, which was actually the first day I met Joe. I was recently going back through some of those old podcasts and was wondering something. Take, for example, in JRE 720 episode when you were talking about the Gitmo detainees and radicalization. As time has went on, and a lot happens in 7 years, and I actually didn't realize that was 7 years ago. That's wild. Have any of your views changed, either softening or hardening? Not saying one perspective is right or wrong. I'm more interested if there has been any shift or not, and why. For a less deep question, any chance you will be doing any more tactical asshole or wine and rations again? Thanks for your awesome shit you're doing, and good luck to you and Mike and everyone else attending the 777 for jumps. And just to keep the pattern going, I'm going to go in reverse. Wine and rations, already talking about doing another season of those. It'd be a series of episodes. We shoot a bunch of them at the same time with Sean Rogers. And I think we're just trying to settle on a date. So absolutely, because people have asked, like, why haven't you done it anymore? And it's a very simple answer: scheduling conflict. Tactical assholes, I've been talking with my friend Brian here not too long ago, and we definitely have some of those in the works. Hopefully I'll be able to film some of those next month. Have my perspectives changed on anything? Yeah, to a degree. My perspective is constantly shifting on a variety of topics and issues, and it usually is based on gathering more information, having more data points, and some of it I think is me getting a little bit older and having a little bit more grace for people, and trying to have a little bit of more grace for myself and the mistakes that I have made many times in my life, and that I continue to do so, and I know I will till the day that I die. On things like Guantanamo Bay, the detainees there, and the radicalization that has happened, no. I haven't changed my opinion or feelings on that particular issue, but what I feel like I have been able to do in those 7 years is develop a better understanding of why I feel that way, and I have developed better tools of explaining and further refining my thoughts. My thoughts on that particular episode, I think, were a little bit blunt, and I could have rounded the edges on some of the things that I said that probably would have made a little bit more sense to people and perhaps would have been a little bit less jarring. But it is how I feel. I think the biggest shift for me in those 7 years is I just try to give people a little bit more buffer. Instead of having somebody take a step or say something and develop my opinion on that, take 2 steps or 3 and come slower to a judgment or an opinion as opposed to rushing to a judgment or an opinion. And I think that just naturally happens as you get older. I can't think of an issue where I've completely flip-flopped, other than probably the biggest issue that I have flip-flopped on, and I don't know if that's the right terminology for it, but I've talked to my dad about this, is we used to argue about the war in Iraq when I was in, specifically before it actually began and it was kind of ramping up. He was very anti-war in Iraq, and I was very hook, line, and sinker, like, we need to do this. And, looking back on that now, I was wrong I'm not going to say I was wrong in necessarily my conviction that it was something that we needed to do. I was completely wrong in the way that I was approaching it. I look back now at the Iraq War, and I'll be really curious to see how the history books judge our country on that one. I think it would be very difficult to put that one in the W column. even though the people there with the boots on the ground were trying to do everything that was asked of them in an incredibly kinetic and challenging environment. But my understanding of why we went there and what was, after 10 years in that country, what the toll was and the cost and whether or not it was worth it, my feelings on that have changed. So that's probably the biggest thing that I have shifted my opinion on. And that was an opinion from more than 7 years ago, obviously, but it sticks out to me as something where I started at one opinion and over the years have refined it to another one. So other than that, though, I'm still the same person. And maybe I knew a few more words and can explain it a little bit better, but nothing crazy has changed in that time. And that's it. I hope everybody has a good weekend, and hopefully on Monday I'll have a pretty good, actually I know I've already got Monday's episode recorded, and it's going to be a banger because it's with all 7 members of the people jumping in honor of the fallen for folds of honor on the 777. So stand by and I'll see you on Monday.